and the Radical Online Extremists. Going to be a nice little game here to decide the fate of Virtus.Pro and Fnatic as far as the placement in the next matchup goes. So this is the semifinals matchup of the TPL S5 Aegis Cup, and we're going to be seeing if Virtus.Pro can take this game away. If they do, they guaranteed qualify. If they don't, then they're going to be going and deciding whether or not they're going to go into a tiebreaker tomorrow, or they're going to be dropped out of the running 100%. So it's very, very difficult to branch on into that bubble, and right now they're just teetering on the edge for points. So should be an interesting matchup, but Virtus.Pro have to give it their all against RoX, who showed some pretty smooth moves up against KIS earlier today. So we'll be seeing these guys in action in just a few minutes. Getting on in the draft now, we see Slark banned out along with Weaver, but also the Wisp and the Batrider taken out, as well as a first pick from Nature's Prophet for Virtus.Pro. Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning on in. I'm myself and Blaze. Here's Triumph Man. What's going on?
You know, I never thought I'd say this, but these two teams, I think Virtus.Pro is the more stable, and I mean more likely to make consistent, level-headed plays. And that's, yeah, I mean, we're talking about Virtus.Pro here, so that just gives you an idea of how crazy RoX.KIS can get when they feel like, and you look at the opening bans there for Virtus.Pro, like, holy crap, ban Weaver, ban Slark, because this could get messy really, really quickly. However, RoX.KIS respond with a very, very standard set of bans. Batrider gone, Wisp gone, they pick up a Bane and an Alchemist. You could not get more stock standard boring if you tried.
Well, I'm hoping for some big clashes. We've had a few games where it's just like, oh, farming picks off really cool stuff. I thought that the Pugna was going to make some waves, but really, I'm looking for some big 5v5 clashes. So hopefully we see some big initiation plays, at least a Darkseer to come on through. But for right now, Virtus.Pro secures their profit, which will be picked up by KSI. But beyond that, the rest remains unclear. Will OD be a factor? Will they be going for a different strategy? Right now, going for the Vengeful Spirit.
Ooh.
Very, very similar draft to what we've already seen.
Yeah, well, looks like this one will be cranked out again, and I think in this case, Virtus.Pro, if Nature's Prophet does the same stuff as before, they have a slightly better chance to stop this just because they can try and nightmare the minions to try and stop them from causing trouble. But if it comes to a point where they're not managing this, I think they honestly should just go and sit on mid's face, basically, and just help mid win, and just not just win, but crush it.
Yeah.
Because if you're sitting in a lane gaining nothing, might as well go and make sure somebody else is gaining nothing. So no, because then they go from RoX.KIS essentially losing 2 heroes for 1 hero on Virtus.Pro side to they make it sort of a mid is losing 2 to they're losing 2 supports, experience gain and money as well. So they can try and sort of even it up like that. But we'll see what their plan is, because as we saw, EG, they had nothing. Their supports were so far behind, and they really need to make sure that doesn't happen, because Bane without levels, without money, he's just such a dead weight. Like one low-level Nightmare or low-level Enfeeble, or even like a level 1 Brain Sap is just absolutely nothing. You cannot have him sitting around on level 2, level 3 for a long time. Like when the mid guy comes knocking for ganks, you really don't want to be stuck at that position. But the bans continue on. Darkseer banned out. Nyx, not Nyx, freaking Nakes banned out, and then Chen as well.
Yeah, I think the Chen ban is very appropriate. It was what made this lineup work so well, in my opinion, for Virtus.Pro last time around. And NS's Test of Faith role is just too strong. I don't even know. But yeah, in this case, they have a more durable carry, which is going to do them a lot of favors with Alchemist. And along with that, they can take out a couple of the very, very core heroes to this lineup. Taking out the Spectre means Wrath of Nature won't be as potent because they don't have vision on everyone. And taking out the Chen means that they have to go for a more defensive carry because he doesn't get a free 200 HP global heal. So adding that all up together, along with the fact that Virtus.Pro now have more pressure to find a hero that can purchase a mech and hang on to it, it actually, shifts VP's mindset and their timing and their entire strategy for this lineup on its head. So we'll see if they go maybe OD for the mech and dominance in the mid lane, or if they're going to try just to make this lineup work with a bit of different flair.
Yeah, definitely a good response from RoX.KIS. You know how he deal with this? So that's not just ban the shit out of his lineup, make sure it doesn't work from the ground up. And then we go, they pick up their own OD. Oh, wow. This is going to... That said, OD hasn't had a great track record so far tonight. He's been getting dumped on. I mean, you've had a good start, but it just hasn't quite managed to carry it home. Granted, both times it's been against Black, so... Yeah, there is that. So we'll see if Illidan can get the same levels of farm. And even if they go for that late game, I mean, they have banned out the Nakes, who've banned out the Spectre. Question is, if they want to risk something like an anti-mage in there, we saw last match, anti-mage can dish out a lot of damage against Devourer if he doesn't pick up that early. It's like, if you don't see him grabbing that Shiva's fairly on, it's very easy to bust him down just because he won't have enough armor to deal with the amount of DPS and knocking out, especially if you have some neg armor effects like Vengeful Spirit, or even if you throw in a good Medallion of Courage as well. Virtus Pro, though, looks like Queen of Pain for mid, and this is going to be painful. I mean, Queen of Pain versus the OD mid. Assuming it is OD mid, and might do some weird things.
No, they're pretty much going for the same idea as last time around. They're just subbing in Enchantress for a Chen. Kind of saw that coming. It's also really good to wake up people from Nightmare, but their lineup is pretty set in stone. All they have to do is swap in a carry, and they're going to pick up something different than Spectre, obviously. But it does mean Queen of Pain versus OD on mid. I mean, honestly, like you said, it hasn't been as dominant as it could be. Like, it's frustrating. It's definitely not going to be won by the Queen of Pain, but it also hasn't been the end of the world.
Like, hands down, OD wins, no argument there. OD wins the lane, but then Queen of Pain, or Puck as it's been, just goes, you know, I'm going to gank every other lane. And just get my experience all back from that, just get it rolling. And if they pick off a few towers, suddenly she's back up to where she needs to be. So pick up a couple of towers, get a couple of ganks, suddenly Queen of Pain has the experience and money that she lost from that lane. So she's probably not as much, but still, looking to be in a very good shape. They continue rolling on like that. On the other hand, Alchemist is here now as well. And Alchemist, of course, like, he's hard to sort of dive against just because unless you've got some like living armor to back you up, you can get snapped very quickly by a good stun from him.
Yeah.
And Nyx as well. I mean, Nyx, if Queen of Pain jumps in, drops her ult and gets hit by Carapace, she's taking so much damage, gets stunned, and then, of course, you follow up with the Alchemist, she's going to die very quickly. But Clockwork and Luna banned out.
The Clockwork pick would have been amazing for RoX. It would have been exactly what they needed. It's a hero that Tron enjoys, and it would have been great for the offlane. As well, they need something that can defensively transition at level 6, right when they are worried about their early burst damage, right when they're worried about a 4 versus 1 smoke gank and Nature Prophet TP onto the mid OD. They need something that can respond, as well as set things up by splitting up the battlefield. And the Clockwork would have been such a perfect pick, but wisely banned out by VP. Now they're waiting through their reserve time for the first time this draft, trying to figure out how they're going to finish off this lineup. Again, they've lost out 2 initiating offlaners with the Darkseer and the Clockwork being banned out in the bat as well. So, really, not too sure.
I mean, granted, it is the last pick, so you might as well just burn the reserve time if you've got it. There's no real urgency. On the other hand, I do like the Luna band because she is definitely, if you're planning to push, Luna's a good band just because the aura can add a ton of extra damage. And she brings teamfight to the table as well. Like, you do not want to be diving in headfirst against Sonic Wave and Eclipse. That's just really, really easy to bring you down. I will say for Virtus Pro, their lineup does worry me a little bit. The fact they have a complete and utter lack of disable. Like, they've got a magic missile, and that's it in terms of heavy disable. And if you don't have that, like, I mean, you could even, if OD has quick fingers, you can even dodge a magic missile with Astral Imprisonment. And you're up against Fiend's Grip, Alchemist Concoction. OD not really a true stun, so we'll overlook him, but Nyx Assassin as well. You've got a pair of stuns on him as well. That RoX.KIS have a very strong ability, even without Clockwork, to dominate the battlefield in that sense. But they really, they are burning through that nice and hard. Offlane heroes, if they wanted to, you could even... Enigma's nice. Sure, you've got the Vengeful Spirit counter, but if you just use him as a counter initiation until after the swap's gone, or if, say, they group up when they try and push in under the tower, I think he's viable, and he also adds some decent counter push, and there we go. They're going to grab the Enigma. I think that's definitely a good choice. And the fact that I'm pretty sure you can convert, like if Enchantress brings a bunch of minions, you can convert a lot of them as well.
A few of them, yeah. Generally speaking, it's just going to be because there's no Scythe on the field, and they're probably going to pick up a Gyrocopter, which his missile isn't that great. Really, all you have to worry about is the VS's swap, and of course her missile. And those can't... It's unlikely that both Bane and Enigma's channeled ultis will be interrupted by just one hero, the VS. So they'll get one of them off most likely, and especially if they target the VS specifically with either of those. And that just gives them that world to disable. Black Hole, 4 seconds. Bane's Fiend's Grip, the Concoction stacking up a huge duration there. And then you, of course, have the Punch to Pack. But they go for a Morphling carry, and that gives them Adaptive Strike. I really like that. And, of course, it's a very versatile carry that can push aggressively with its waveform. So, really, a very smooth pickup by VP, and glad to see it in this situation. I think it's perfect for what they need.
I'm going to say this. They could adapt to strike with the stun. It's definitely going to be helpful to try and keep Enigma at bay. The thing is, if they didn't pick up a carry with a stun, the problem was the fact that pretty much OD and Alchemist and Nyx and all that could commit. even like Vanskool could push in there, forces a Vengeful Spirit to commit. And when she's in, that opens up room for Enigma. But they've got a secondary stun now. Morphling sort of hang back if necessary. Still not a huge amount of, like, really, it's going to be good for interrupting the couple of channel disables, but their team fight is going to come down to their burst, I feel. Their burst damage, because if they can't burst down targets quickly, they are going to get, like, they're just going to get pushed out of these fights with the sheer amount of disables that RoX.KIS have available. Plus, of course, they've got good defensive spells in the form of Astral Imprisonment. So, VP, I think the lineup's got potential, but I don't think it's the clean sweep that their previous roster had, their previous draft had. So,
Sure.
To be honest, like, how do you feel about these lineups? Personally, I favor RoX.KIS's draft, but what do you feel?
It's actually pretty hard to call because it's really going to be about those big disables. If Bane is a player and just really locks people down, controls the fights they need to, and sets up the Alchemist to get a good concoction off, then I have no doubt that their lanes will work out, and in doing so, most likely transition themselves to a very successful mid game. But if the supports are as limited as they were last time around by the same shenanigans of KSI, and they don't have a counter to that, Virtus Pro are going to run rampant almost as strong as they did last time around.
We'll see. So, who are we waiting on here? Somebody's crashed? I think we're waiting on Tron.
Yeah, Tron.
I think Tron's crashed. Alright. But yeah, I feel like the stuns, like, yeah, you bring up a good point. It comes down to how much trouble KSI can cause as well, yeah, and he is indeed playing the Prophet as well. So if he can cause trouble, it may slow them down a fair bit, especially because underleveled Nyx is kind of bad just because Impale, not great scale. Like, a low level Impale really doesn't just squat for disable time, and obviously he's greedy as well. He wants to max out a lot of skills. He wants to get points in mana burn, wants to get lots of points in Carapace as well as his stun, and obviously wants his ult as well. So low levels for him really hurts. Bane on the other hand, just, well, his skills just not that effective at low levels. Really needs to max him out early on as well. So if they spend time dicking around in that jungle, chasing Trance around, that's going to suck. That's really going to limit their effectiveness. One thing I am somewhat worried about is I feel Enchantress in this lineup nowhere close to as powerful as Chen, to be dead honest. And because, I mean, the fights weren't so much about Chen's creep. Enchantress gets more creep early on. It was about Chen's sustain in the fights. The mech and the ult, the Hand of God. She doesn't have that. Healing sprites are good pretty much for her. It's hard to get the heal onto other people as well, unless you're sort of backing off and then healing together as a group. But they just do not have that same burst potential, and just keeping things like Queen of Pain. I mean, Queen of Pain was diving. I'm pretty sure it was Queen of Pain wasn't last match. She was diving so damn hard because she could rely on that.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. They do start off with Morphling level 1 Morph. He is going to be able to shift over. If you look at his strength and agility, he's actually put the ratio of 34 to 9 on his base, and that's going to give him a ton of last hit potential, 57, which is a spread of, looks like, 9. So not that bad. It's going to be a minimum damage of 53, and that's not too shabby when it comes down to hardcore CS, especially when you're only up against an off... Actually, I was going to say offlane Enigma, but Tron's down bottom. I guess they're abandoning up top then, most likely. But yeah, either way, he's going to be not only able to get some great CS early, but he's also going to be able to survive quite effectively himself when he starts actually maxing that morph, which is going to be his secondary. So, all in all, I kind of feel like, yes, they do lack the major benefit of Hand of God, but as a whole, Enchantress will be able to put out more mid to late, and the Morphling will be able to survive whether or not he has that hand available.
Yeah, Morphling, I'm not too worried about Morphling dying. It's more the Queen of, like, she's going to control the tempo of this fight, and whether or not she can commit to a fight will control this. Morphling, on the other hand, he's going to be decent in his lane, he's up against nobody, as you mentioned, but as far as fights go, you might be able to wave a couple of people, but he's not going to be a huge force multiplier until he gets the Ethereal Blade done, and so you're going to see Yol actually come mid and just do a bit of a drive-by there on Queen of Pain and upset her before he heads down bottom, and there we go. They're going to start the shenanigans, and this Tron actually heading down here. I mean, this is going to help him out. In fact, if they can Nightmare one and then convert the other, that'll pretty much shut down his ability to do this. In fact, he's not even bothering to block. He's just going to try and drag the creep wave back and try and get it stacked up and pull it back behind his tower to farm it safely. I think it's a very smart move there from KSI this match, just adapting his tactics a little bit.
Yeah. So he knows he's not going to get them all the way over. He's not going to keep them on the spawn. They know his tricks too well, so he's just going to try to delay the creep wave as much as possible, running back and forth a little bit here. Not as effective as he would prefer, and they're actually even going to get this single pull off. So we'll see how it plays on out if KSI actually can get it to the safety of his tower. But for right now, he's just going to keep on playing that back and forth, and he is going to be perfectly safe. Like, You think about offlaners like Darkseer and such, and you think about how they love to play aggressively in Iron Shell and only pull back and surge when they need to. But against a Bane with the Nightmare Initiation to set up Concoction, you really can't afford to do that with most heroes. But KSI, he's shown that he's happy to be playing literally as defensive as possible and no threat at all. And so all it is these Treants going out and trying to do his work for him as he hopes to block off this respawn.
Yeah, I mean, all he has to do is literally just stack the camps up, like, just stack the waves up. If he does this, like, they're going to push to him, no doubt about it. They will push down to him eventually, and he'll be able to catch up there, because, of course, he was being a prophet, he'll most likely go for the recovery Midas, and as we saw before, even with absolutely zero farm, he caught up and then got ahead very, very easily. So in this case, he'll actually be gaining something, but they might actually try and punish him. They're going to, alright, well, if you're going to do this, we're pushing. Yeah. We're taking your tower. And here we go, the Treant's going to try and drag the creep wave off it, but they do have the islands and nest. In fact, they're just going to chase him back, like, hold it back, and let the creep wave do the job. I think this is a smart counter-attack from RoX.KIS as well. They're going, alright, we'll counter your counter, and we'll do this instead. If they bring down this tier 1 very quickly, it will sort of close the room that BZZ can farm, but if they need to, they just start rotating the spots and let BZZ play around with the pools and get farm out of that.
Yeah, and that's the genius of the Enigma pickup and putting it down on bottom. Starting off with a Basilius is pretty easy for him, since he doesn't need that Soul Ring outright, and it's paying off here because they have the Basilius active, they went for their single pull intentionally, and then from there, yeah, KSI did their work for him. They were able to go for a little bit of 4-man Dota down on bottom, and that tier 1 just immensely helps their gold advantage. Starting off, they're already at about a 1,200 gold advantage, and that's going to translate into some very, very key early items like the Tranquil Boots, which are already on their way. Oh, a Headdress. Why?
And here's the other thing, like, they can afford to be this aggressive. Headdress on who?
JRB went Headdress before Buckler, so he's not going to be Essence Aura procking with it.
Yeah, I think it'll be okay. It's not going to be a terrible result for him. Obviously, it's nice. I'm kind of expecting.
Oh, actually. Yeah, they
are getting super aggressive. But yeah, this is the point I was going to bring up. The fact that they know Queen of Pain is struggling so damn hard in this mid lane, she's not going to be mobile for quite some time. They have a good 3 to 5 minutes where they can just be this aggressive and go for a tier 2. It's absolutely no problem at all to do this. And so I think it's very smart. RoX.KIS abusing this window of opportunity, just this timing. They say, you know what, we can try and take down this tier 2. That's tons of extra money, even for Yol.
Absolutely. And a big thing is BZZ. He may only have 1 point in Grievous Greed, but he's going to pick up this early Midas to give himself a ton of cash, and more importantly, kill off any Enchantress creep that he lays his eyes on. Every time Enchantress comes in for a teamfight or a gank, she's only going to have 1 or 2 creeps, and he's going to be able to take one of the fight immediately with that Midas. That's kind of what the Void tried to do last time around, but yeah, along with that, he's of course a lot tankier. Now, Yol is going to get wave formed up. They're going to go for a big flank to try to bring him down. No Carapace available. This should be a kill with the slow, with the Harpy. There's that Magic Missile, and the kill will go to, oh, not to Illidan. He wanted it, but although it was well timed, he Carapaced it so that it was going to be spread among all 3, but they will take the tier 1 tower as well.
I think it's a smart move there from VP. They say, alright, well, we'll just trade for towers now, just pick off yours as well. And it looks like RoX.KIS decided to calm down. They're like, alright, let's just go back and farm a bit more. We don't need this tower that desperately. Decided that they don't want to go for it. They just want to keep that there instead. But this is going to allow Virtus Pro to equalize them on towers. So we'll probably see this drop down. The difference in gold just drop down to an equalizer in a second once that kicks into the graph. And Outworld Devourer, very close to finishing off his... I mean, his Buckler is almost done as well. I mean, having that early tower means he can afford to go for the Headdress first. I mean, the Headdress, sure, you're not going to be proccing the Essence Aura as much, but I think you can do it easily enough. And the fact that it's going to give him the extra regen just so he can trade hits with Queen of Pain, because he still does need to contend with the constant spam of Nether Strike, which is going to chuck down on just every opportunity that she can. And it actually does a considerable amount of damage. So I don't mind him picking that up too early. So we got the bottles coming out as well for Queen of Pain, but that definitely, she's been slowed down considerably because of this. She's only got 17 CS, OD 23 and 10, but of course leading the pack, the free farm here, Illidan, actually no contest at all.
Yeah, but when you actually look at the GPM, we still see Alchemist running on top, right where he belongs, has 2 points in Grievous, and they're going to be able to bring down this tier 2 very, very quickly. So they're in a great spot right here, and like you were saying, Team W cannot rotate based on how much trouble he's been having in the mid. So this tier 2 will drop, there's no fortification, and there's no way that they can actually keep this up and at him because they don't have the counter push for it. So VP losing another tower, and that's really in favor of RoX.KIS.
Well, even if he could rotate, like the thing is, most Queen of Pains go for 2 against another range hero. They go for a 2-1 at the start, 2 in Shadow Strike rather than 1, which means they don't really have their ult available at level 6. Like watching the Queen of Pain that we saw earlier against the Puck, having the ult at 6 was really unexpected. Like, it's not generally what you go for. She just went, you know what, I need a huge burst to deal with, Park. I'm not going to bother about the harass so much. And in this case, like, she, in fact, hasn't skilled the ult at level 6 because she's not planning to rotate. So even if they were slowed down a little bit, she had level 6 right now, or had level 6 at like 5 minutes, 50 seconds, she wouldn't really be able to rotate that effectively anyway. And I'd even question her rotating towards that because she's walking into a whole bunch of stuns and she's so easy to burst down at that stage in the game. And obviously every time she rotates away as well, it's just OD, is just pushing and pushing and pushing against her own tower.
Yep, so a difficult spot to be in, but they still have potential. I mean, Morphling, of course, being one of the better carries, if he can actually get his feet off the ground, has a huge amount of potential, especially with Linken's. Looking at what he's up against, Malefice, everything from Bane, the Concoction, all these spells, he can really just at least take one of them out and benefit a lot from it by having his Linken's up. I mean, even if he doesn't get mana burned, that's still a huge win for him because he relies on his mana so extensively.
Yeah, I guess it's doable. I almost feel like, I guess because RoX.KIS are likely to be playing for late game, I think he can afford to go for Linken's if he wanted to. If they were playing super aggressive, I want to say like you just have to go for their Thrill Blade to make sure you're ready for the fights. But in this case, yeah, it looks like RoX.KIS aren't playing that aggressive. They're playing for that late game. They're going for the greedy build. They want both OD and Alchemist to be super farmed. And just take the fights 5v5 in the late game. The question is whether or not, obviously, VP let them do that because they do have Nature's Prophet. Also, I feel, sort of towards late, like Enchantress has to be so careful towards late game. I mean, you keep going on, it's going to get to the point where OD can basically 3-shot her because she's such a squishy hero. But smoke gank on bottom lane, Blaze.
Yeah, should be able to bring it down here, no problem at all. Magic Missile starts it off, but he actually, oh my gosh, he timed it perfectly. I don't even know if he intended it. But the Chemical Rage, the transformation time that nullifies spells. Oh my gosh, he disjointed that by transforming.
That's the first time I've seen that.
Yeah, in Dota 2, it's so rare. But every single transformation effect, whether Lone Druid, which is blatantly obvious, or Alchemist, you see it. He actually was able to dodge out the spell, took no damage, no stun, and walks away. Oh, that's such a big deal.
Yeah, and like that's not his there's no way. There's no way. He couldn't see that coming. That's not his ward. I gotta say.
Luck.
That must have been pure luck.
Yeah.
And BZZ is good, but he's not that good.
Yeah.
Man, that is the first time I've seen anybody pull that off in Dota 2. I've not seen that happen before.
Yeah, that is...
I know it's possible, definitely. It's so hard to do. So freaking hard. But now bottom lane, like, they're putting the pressure on, and like, because they didn't get the kill as well, I mean, that wasted time for Queen of Pain. She just didn't get that kill, and they don't even have the pressure on the tower. Like, they brought Enchantress in here. One of the things they want to do, obviously, is bring down that tower, but it's not going to happen now. That's a huge waste of time for them, and that's just going to buy more time for OD to do his thing. Greevil's greed to kick in. And the question is, can they keep up? Like, can they keep rotating? Can Virtus.Pro keep ganking when Yol hits 6? Is the pressure, like, the pressure's going to kick in from them as well. They're going to hit level 6 with Yol, have that potential for him to counter gank, and if we get an early Shadow Blade on Alchemist as well, I think it's just going to get really difficult for them to rotate at all. Even like Furion won't be able to play Rat Dodo. He won't be able to just run around and push unprotected towers because they may have an invisible assassin team waiting to take him out.
Now, very important is this Observer Ward towards the top rune spawn for the Radiant. We're actually able to see the Vengeful Spirits waiting on the high ground, so the OD knew not to be aggressive, and still JRB cleverly was forward enough that the Vengeful Spirit wanted to stay and think, okay, maybe he'll mess up in just a few seconds. But yeah, the Vengeful Spirit just sticks around for about 15 seconds before making her way back up top, and JRB loses absolutely nothing for it. Now moving in, he has his mechanism here with this last CS. So great position for them to be in. They have the mech. Enigma, because he doesn't have to go for mech, can just rush out something like Blink or any other great pushing item and then, yeah, follow through. So really good position, and it's going to be on VP to hold the line when they start going 5-man.
Indeed, it looks like the Queen of Pain, the double damage is popped. She's not going to do anything. Oh, fact, she's got a haster and bolted up as well. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to do anything. Yol, though, has picked up in Vendetta's looking to jump in there, but just Queen of Pain playing very defensively. I think she's worried. She's very worried indeed. Going to hide all the way. He might just throw the stun here and just gun for it. No. Biding his time. Almost Vendetta there. Throws the stun, but nobody's there to follow up. And we've got the counterattack coming. In fact, the stun goes out there from Vengeful Spirit. Dropped on top of Yol. Yol are going to pop the Carapace and back up there. Sonic Wave comes through. Probably popped it way too early there. Just on the Shadow Strike, unfortunately, as it looks like he will get brought down. However, they get the counter kill there. Enchantress so easy for Odie to snap like a twig. Morphling now dives in. There we go. Waveform. They've lost the Enigma as well. It's a 2-for-1 at the moment. Now BCZ is perfect in some serious trouble. Screen comes out yet again. Down goes the Alchemist. And Tame My Wild diving in deep. Haste Rune is popped. He's just trying to get some distance so he can pop his regen there. Rather, the regeneration there from his bottle. Now he's going to try and dive in. It looks like OD is down as well. Tame My Wild still going in deep. They get 3-4 kills out of that. And in fact, all they lose is the Enchantress. That's a very big win for them.
Very impressive from Virtus Pro. They just closed in on that exactly like they needed to. And although the beginning of it didn't seem to be working out too well, and when the Alchemist came in, the stun was pretty solid. Virtus Pro's positioning, they were aggressive right the very second they needed to be aggressive, and then immediately after they fell back outside of the tower range. And so they could play in and out over and over and over and kind of just jump into the fray when they felt it necessary, especially TMW getting off multiple screams and a good Sonic Wave without actually risking himself at any position. So all in all, a really great fight for Virtus Pro, and we're going to see a dramatic effect. Actually, the Experience and Gold both showing just such a great impact as Virtus Pro take the lead.
I will say Nyx misplayed that pretty heavily. Gold did not play that brilliantly. He threw the Carapace out on the Shadow Strike. That was a huge, huge mistake. That fight would have been completely different. Like, Queen of Pain would have killed herself on the Sonic Wave if he'd popped that, if he'd saved it for that.
Yeah, that's actually
even if he saved it for, even if he saved it for the Vengeful Spirit with the throwing out the max level Magic Missile, that would have been a much bigger hit, and also would have kept Queen of Pain off him for a considerable amount of time as well. So yeah, definitely misplayed with the Carapace. However, I mean, that said, Tame My Wild, of course, super aggressive player, just fully willing to dive all the way in there. It looks like Morphling, he will be going for that Lincoln Sphere, and of course, yeah, he can afford to play late this game. I'm actually kind of surprised that Alchemist got dropped down that quickly. In fact, he didn't really even... Like, that said, I suppose he is farming up pretty well, so he's going to get Shadow Blade pretty soon regardless. He's almost there. In fact, only another 400 gold and he'll have it. Already has the Shadow Amulet.
It's a pretty good position for him. He all keeps on going for these Vendetta ganks, but just there's no way that they're actually going to happen. So we actually even see KSI rotate down on bottom. Does leave an opening for them to try to push tier 3, but I really doubt that RoX.KIS feel comfortable with that, even with the Black Hole, until they get a Blink Dagger. It's just, in this position, they're split pushing it up, but you already see Alchemist just falling back. BZZ's like, yes, that it would be juicy to just get some easy right clicks there, but 2 seconds away from those big TPs, and it's just a waste of time. So he gets to farm it up, but so does just about everybody else on the board. We are going to be seeing a lot of gold racked up. The big thing here is that Blink. Again, OD on mech means Tron can go Blink, and Blink Enigma at this early on is quite a surprise.
Oh yes, definitely. If he can get in there at the right moment, can definitely swing a fight around entirely. See whether or not they can actually make any pickoffs happen. Of course, with the Nyx assassin, I mean, with the Blink as well as Nyx just being mobile and just irritating, they could quite easily set up some easy pickoffs there. But it looks like they're going to try and pick off Bane with Enchantress. Enchantress is going to roll up behind him here, and the Bane, no, he's just going to back off. He should be fine with only one hero there. Actually, well, we've got Morphling, but of course he does have Nightmare available if he needs to get out of trouble.
Here comes
And
Fiend's
then back
Grip.
there we go.
Goes
Fiend's Grip
Strength Morph.
comes in. Vendetta and rather the Impale as well. I think he's going to be just fine though, because look at this heal up there. And now we've got Enigma jumps in, gets the Black Hole off. Only catches one though. Illidan managing to waveform away just in time. That's being completely ineffective. Malphus comes out now as well. Impetus going to do a lot of damage, but nothing comes out of that. And in the end, all they do is lose a Bane. That could have been fantastic. It was just seconds away there. Illidan managing to escape.
Yeah, very close call for him. He had two options. He could either have jumped to his replicate or go for the waveform, but the waveform aggression paid off because they were able to get the Bane kill. And yeah, it just so happened that was right when the Black Hole was coming on down, and really good dodge from him, so that the only person was the full HP Enchantress, and that's really not much of a pick to take. Now on mid lane, Alchemist with the Shadow Blade charging up his concoction, but not going to be able to do too much with it, I don't think.
Yeah, he's going to harass Tame My Wild, doing a fair bit of damage, but of course Queen of Pain has the blink, and in fact, if he was really in danger, Swap Stun was also available. If necessary, just going to see a bit of counter warding there from Bane. He's going to clean up some of the map vision there. Hasn't really... Because you haven't realised, I like this ward, this is nice. It spots the rotations coming from top lane to help out mid lane. Also, sees if anybody's skulking here, waiting to decide whether or not they want to push up. I do like that ward, it's a very handy one. Nice little utility buy there. But now it looks like they're going to go. Looks like Virtus Pro are going to use the dire advantage, just going to make sure they can clean up an early Roshan. The question is whether or not we see a rotation here from the Radiant side. Actually, not even sure. They might have smoked in there. I get the feeling they smoked in there, or something would have been done about this. Although Nyx is actually going to scatter it out, but he is going to be visible.
Yeah, and they actually have a sentry where they know exactly about it, but they already got the Aegis. They're going to swap him in. He does get the Carapace off on just about everybody, even on the waveform, but it's not going to actually drop any damage back the other way. The end result, though, is that Morphling gets the Aegis, gets the kill, and has finished up his Linked Sphere, so he's in a great position there. And the fact that that was so darn quick, of course the Sentry Ward was instrumental to making sure that they could stop anybody from jumping on in. But the reason that was so quick was KSI. Medallion Rush has been very, very common this day, and it's been helping out Roshan after Roshan. As long as the results of the Roshan, the gold experience and Aegis, are used to great effect, it's really important to each team's lineup. So the Medallion and the Wave of Terror, stacking it up so they can bring down Roshan very, very quickly. And now, if Morphling was a unkillable machine before, now there's really no way to bring him down.
Morphling, yeah, definitely going to be hard to shut down. Where did he just replicate? Okay, he went to farm the bottom lane there, just going to clean that up. As Alchemist, whereas he's sitting on now, working his way towards what's presumably to be a BKB. And this is where I think things get messy for Virtus Pro. Once we see the BKB coming to Alchemist, they don't really have a good answer for him. He's just going to tear his way through their lineup, especially if he picks up a Bash after that. I mean, I've seen the biggest, the fattest Morphlings just get destroyed by permastuns and coming out of Bashes and Abyssal Blades, so that does worry me somewhat, because they get locked down really hard. Like, you got the Black Hole there, you got the Fiend's Grip, there's so much lockdown. And if the Basher comes out and he starts landing a couple of stuns here and there in the fight, it's going to be really difficult for Morphling to compete there. And then, you know, you've got to keep in mind that right now, RoX.KIS, like, they can afford the wait. They've got the superior late game lineup. They've got Outworld Devourer as well as the farming Alchemist. They've got plenty of time. You know, they can sit here, get everybody farmed up, and then just have a huge late game lineup. So really, I think the ball is in Virtus Pro's court. They've got to make stuff happen. They've got to push. They've got to take towers.
But still, I mean, if you have to go late game, a Morphling is certainly a carry that can just really, really carry you on his shoulders. The big thing here is RoX.KIS' disables. If they get good Fiends and Black Holes off, sure, they're going to be able to take this as late as it needs to. But if there are good interrupts, if they come out Scythes and all these other different things to lock down the channeled disables, then suddenly that Morphling is that much more scary, and he's going to be able to carry very, very hard. Right now, Lincoln's is just his first item, picked it up so darn early. I mean, his GPM is 488, which, yes, it's dwarfed by the 525 of Alchemist, but that's an Alchemist who has Midas, 2 points in Greed, actually charging up a Concoction, and going to go hard onto NS here. It looks like it might be enough to finish him off. No, the Malphus not ticking nearly as much as the Nature's Attendants, and that's going to be, instead, a turnaround pickoff for Illidan.
I want to bring up a big point here. I think this is really, really smart buy from Virtus Pro, the early gem. That is really going to shut down the amount of aggression that can come out of Nyx as well as Alchemist. Nyx is, obviously, even though he had sort of the third position, had absolutely no farm. So he's not getting anywhere close to where he wants to be towards a Blink Day to get that mobility on the field. And this is allowing Virtus Pro. Now they've got the gem, they can take map control, and this is going to be important in just allowing them to get ahead of the farm. Not just to the Alchemist, obviously they want to catch up and slow him down a bit as well, but obviously slowing down JRB's Outworld Devourer. They really need to keep that one down as well. So getting map control going to be a key point here. And Morphling just going to push forward here. In fact, they're going to go for the siege. They've got the Aegis and not scared. So, you know what, let's put some damage on this tower. We can do it. There we go. Concoction being stunned or charged up. Queen of Pain going to blink away. It won't save her though. We'll just allow her to get some distance. But of course, that stun, for whatever reasons, you can't disjoint it. It is completely and utterly obnoxious.
It's too unstable, man. Too unstable.
See Morphin just dive in, replicate out, do some damage, jump back out. Like, where'd he go? He went all the way back to the mid lane to farm. That's the power of that replicate.
Farm task. I mean, you look at Anti-Mage and you think, okay, well, he has that short cooldown blink, very long range. He can get wherever he needs to find creeps. And yeah, that's very true of Morphling as well with that replicate. Now, we are going to see possibly no pick off on OD. Yeah, the ultimate committed from TMW. That's going to guarantee it, but here comes that Black Hole. Only on Vengeful Spirit, though. Concoction going to come out onto TMW. It's enough to finish him off. They're going to get the Impale out as well onto Smile, so they do get 2 kills for their trouble, but they expend yet again the Black Hole. And it's not how Tron wants to be using Blink Black Holes. Regular Black Holes, sure, you can get a solo pick-off, a duo pick-off, but when you commit over 2,000 gold to an item to set up that Black Hole, you want it to be very worthwhile, and one-mans aren't cutting it, especially when you lose their hardcore hero, the OD.
Yeah, on the other hand, of course, they just finished the BKB on Alchemist. That gave Alchemist the money for the BKB, so he is in a very strong position. But as you said, having the, like, it's not so much having the blink, like buying the blink day to do the job, it's more the fact that Black Hole is on cooldown now, and this is a window of opportunity for Virtus Pro to now go, oh, well, you know what, we can siege that bottom tier 3 again, do some more damage to it, because they don't have to worry about that initiation value there from the Enigma, because I think that's really the thing that's making them even worry about backing off right now, is the fact that that is there, and can quite easily pin down key heroes like Queen of Pain, or even stuff like, you know, if you get a couple of easy pickoffs the Nature's Prophet and the Enchantress, that's still painful, and that's delaying their items, making them weaker, and just because late game the supports are still very, very, wow, that's a long range one. The late game the supports are still definitely, you know, you need them, you need the disables that they bring. to win fights. And there we go. That finally landing and actually just knocking off the Lincolns.
That's pretty
In
funny.
the mid lane, that concoction landed. But BZZ and Yon just going to try and push a tier 1 top, while meanwhile, Blaze, Virtus Pro are going to try and take a tier 2 mid.
Yeah, BCZ easily going to be able to bring down this tier 1 very, very rapidly, and it doesn't look like they want to fall back at all. They have so much benefit from the aura of the Vengeful Spirit now being maxed out. They can take down this tower at tier 2 like twice as fast as a tier 1 drops, and now they're actually going to put some damage into tier 3. As far as the Aegis, though, it's about to expire. Double checking that Roche time. Yeah, it's about gone. 6 seconds on the timer, so they're not going to be able to benefit from that. But still, look at the stats on this Morphling. 9 strength, 104 agility. He's going so ballsy even without that Aegis. And, yeah, it's still allowing a lot of right clicks, but it might be bad for him here as he gets dropped down permanently. Enchantress as well. They go in, they get the Fiend's Grip on top of him, and even the Queen of Pain with the BKB in the blink is barely able to get on out of there. Meanwhile, a stun comes out on both Smile and KSI. It's going to be a quick and easy cleanup for them, and they might even get KSI. No, they're going to go for TMW, who got hit by the prison as well. So he was actually saved from that stun and is able to disjoint that auto attack. I think that's enough to get him on out of there. It is indeed. So really, unfortunately, a miscoordination. Hard to coordinate all those different spells and abilities, but the fact that Concoction went and got whiffed by prison meant that TMW got away and KSI as well because he was TPing in the trees.
That's still a pretty big blow, and they're likely to, actually, maybe not, because Morphling and Vengeful Spirit is, of course, only 22 minutes, and they will actually be up fairly quickly. The question is, how much damage can they dish out against this tower? I suppose they probably could blow through it, actually, because Alchemist does have Rage. Now, he will pop the Rage. Do they have Glyph? The Dire do have the Glyph if they want to try and stop this, and it will buy enough time for them to get here, I think, although KSI, actually, he's got Teleport up. He could get there if he needs to, and they don't have Enigma here. They will need to back off. As we see Adaptive Strike come out, will we see a potential swap?
Nice.
It's only rank 2, it's probably not going to get there. Wow, replicates forwards. That is a ballsy play there. BKB being popped. Now they're going to throw out the stun. They're going to land on top of the Enchantress, try and take her out of the fight, but now we're going to force stuff there on KSI. The stuns come out. It's not enough, though. Down goes the Nyx Assassin. OD now caught out, imprisons himself. I think that dodged it just in time. I think, no, it did not. He took a ton of damage. Down he goes. He was a second too slow on that, and it looks like the big counterattack's coming through. Virtus Pro now with a 2-hero advantage, going to open up on an unprotected Rax Blaze.
Yeah, Morphling taking advantage of that mobility. Didn't get disabled because of Lincoln's, keeps moving, uses the Replicate's amazing range, and morphs to the front line only to waveform and get so much damage, and he just wanted to tank it all up, and indeed he did. And along with that, he doesn't have to fear anything when he has Strength Morph, so he's going to tank through all this damage here. The Brain Stab, he gets forced away from it. That might have been enough damage to put him over the threshold, but here comes that Black Hole. Blinked in, Tron is doing so much damage. Concoction just now charging, though. Not going to get a great one off, but enough to bring down Morphling. Now, focusing on TMW, he is Fiend Script up. That is going to be the right clicks to finish the job there, and yet another turnaround. This is turning into quite a game.
Holy crap, both these teams just want to fight, and that's 2 really expensive losses there for Virtus Pro. Sure, they got the pickoffs on OD, but they're immediately losing the Queen of Pain and the Morphling afterwards. That does sting quite a lot. And now Alchemist, and if anything's going to hurt the Queen of Pain, it's this negative armor spam. It's going to make her so easy to chop to bits. They've got the spam there coming out from, obviously, the Acid Spray, and then on top of that now, we've got an Assault Cuirass coming out, well, fairly soon. In fact, he's only missing roughly about, say 1,000 gold or so. He's pretty damn close to it, and if they take this tier 2 mid as well, it's going to cost them a tier 2 mid, that failed push.
Yeah, so tier 2 dropping very, very quickly, and there's really not too much VP can do about it without the Morphling. Along with that, he is on 9 charges of BKB, so that's going to, every time he uses that, it's going to be a big reduction in its potential. Same with Queen of Pains, currently at 8 seconds. So I don't know, it's just like they can't hold the line on the tier 2s. They're going to be losing a little bit of farm here if BZZ is able to pick up a bit of their jungle, which he feels comfortable with based on nice observer wards. And in general, yeah, Radiant feels a lot more confident in this game than they did maybe 5 minutes ago. So good position for them to be in. Cutting off VP from farm is really what they have to keep on doing.
The other thing is Hex is now done on OD.
Ooh, nice.
That's like, especially like you mentioned, like obviously there's a lot of good, really strong superior magic disable that goes right to the BKBs, but on the other hand, it's really nice to, if as soon as those superior magic disables finish, to have a Hex ready to go, and the BKB being low charged will be down. So, you know, like you said, the longer these fights go, the less effective those BKBs are going to be, and sure, the BKB on Alchemist is going to let him dodge a ton, like an absolute ton of magical damage, but on the other hand, like he doesn't need to worry about getting disabled down to the ground at the moment, because by rushing the BKB with the Queen of Pain, she doesn't have a Hex anytime soon. That's really going to delay her ability to get a Hex up and running. She does have an Ultimate Orb, but, you know, she's still got another 3,000 gold or so to go, and this is a perfect time. If BZZ and the rest of RoX.KIS want to start forcing fights, she's not going to have that ready to go. If she keeps getting picked off too, it's just going to delay things further and further.
In this position here, Morphling, really, it seems like Illidan's 5 minutes, wow. Anyways, it seems like Morphling, just really, Illidan loves to play that high glass cannon build for the Morphling. 13 strength, he's still at 9 strength. He's always sitting at almost the maximum value for morphing your strength into agility. He's kind of playing it close to the chest, but greatly, he has great durability through his items. So, I mean, Lincoln's, BKB, whatever it is, he has the tools at his disposal to survive on through things. So, and of course, along with that, there's no silences to stop him from toggling his morph. So, there you go. But, yeah, it's essentially... He can play Glass Cannon, especially with the Aegis, because he's either with his second life or with his first one if he needs to, he can always get enough sustained durability. That's from the Nature's Attendants a little bit, but most importantly just from the BKB and Lincoln giving him enough time that the morph will take effect. And RoX.KIS just, they have a lot of burst, but if he picks up like a butterfly on top of that, he's just going to be able to survive through most they can throw at him, and if he keeps on getting Aegises, RoX.KIS are going to have a very real threat in their hands.
I only see him, yeah, he can do it if he's got an Aegis, but otherwise, he's playing really... Like, back before Morphling got nerfed, sort of the level you'd see most people sit their health level, they sit their Morphlings at was 1200. He's definitely going well below that. He's been seeing 900 to 1000. He's playing with fire in respects to that. And as we saw, I mean, it cost him a death earlier in the mid lane as well. He just got disabled.
I honestly think he thought he had Aegis. Like he only lost it 10 seconds beforehand. He was playing just like he had a second life available.
It's definitely possible. Should also mention NS, if they... NS is going to help too, if we go to this super late game. Between NS and Queen of Pain, they may have some extra damage there. Of course, they do have the backup of Vengeful Spirit with her aura. She's actually surprisingly tough. Like, I've been watching it, she's not been dying very quickly. And it comes down to the fact she's got a wand, she's got a brace, she's got power treads, and she also happens to have, oddly enough, has managed to pick up a Hood of Defiance. Not a usual pickup you see on a Vengeful Spirit, but in this case, she's managed to find enough farm with the early towers, because it is relatively cheap component-wise, come in small chunks, so it's easy for a, sort of a support to pick up, even if they are doing the majority of the warding. You can manage it, and also it looks like Enchantress has rotated the ward buying just to help her out a little bit, because she's got all her core items, well, most of her core. She's got at the very least power treads as well as the urn, which does help her out a bit in terms of health pool. She's very, very easy to snap when OD looks at her.
Yeah. So two things that I think are really, really big as far as the 5v5 matchup goes. AC was picked up on the Alchemist, so more of that armor reduction that you were referencing before. And VS, on the other side, has picked up her rank 2 ultimate, level 11. So it allows her to kind of stay back a little bit away from her allies. And generally speaking, unless she gets hexed up by OD or something, is going to be able to swap out, almost guaranteed, that Enigma. So really, really important in in Smile's positioning. And then, of course, RoX.KIS have a lot of damage because of the AC. So those are two big shifts in how the last ones played out as opposed to these next ones. Who do you favor in a full 5v5?
In a full 5v5, honestly, I'd still favor the crowd control from RoX.KIS, and I think Morphling, as fat as you can get, if you've got enough disable, you can shut him down. And I feel like Queen of Pain, like, because she's not likely to pick up like high armor levels, so she's really, really vulnerable to getting just locked down. And we saw, like, even with the BKB up, preventing the damage coming through, the magical damage coming through, she was still getting pounded on by Alchemist. Like, he took her apart so damn quickly. He's just got the attack speed to do it. And if you throw in if he managed to pick up a Bash or even a Monkey King Bar to help deal with an eventual, like, I'm assuming Morphling will be seeing a Butterfly
Scotty,
eventually, but the question
or Manta.
Whoa.
One way or another.
I think Manta, like, he definitely scales. Like, she could be a Scotty. This might be to help him keep Morphling off, keep Alchemist off his case. And Morphling scales better with a Scotty than most fairies do, just because he can convert. It just allows him to convert more strength. It just allows him to play like with more of his base strength. He can turn that into more damage instead. And you just play. He can fiddle with it. Yeah. So just let him get more damage. Whereas normally picking up a Scotty on a carry means like it's a big investment for relatively little damage return. It's more about that slow.
Yeah, but essentially 25 agi, 25 strength, you can just add that up to 50 agility pretty easily, or 50 strength as needed. And I think it's a really, really good pickup for him. But Manta also has quite a few benefits itself. Of course, they don't have all that much AoE after Standardies is dropped, so that might be beneficial. Also, I think you can dodge out the Unstable Concoction. There's so many things that that can't avoid it, but I think Manta Split can. Either way, there's...
I think your Mana Split can because it's like you're invulnerable during the phase. I'm pretty sure, but I think it's more likely to be Manta. To be dead honest, just because it gives him much needed attack speed, gives him stats he can play with again. I just think all round it's better than the slow, just because you're looking at the lockdown here. You look at the lockdown. I mean, sure you can try and slow the Alchemist, but you've got stuns coming out the wazoo. You've got freaking black holes. You've got impales, imprisonments. It's just so much to keep you in place.
Yep. So, I mean, either one will be very good. I'm sure we agree on that, and we'll see exactly what he ends up picking up. But the big thing is just getting more and more items. He really needs to look towards either Manta or Scotty, and then if the Alk isn't going MKB, he needs to be working on a Butterfly. If not, then he can just go something like Lifesteal or something. I mean, there's so many different ways to build them, just beyond the standard shotgun build, or, well, it used to be standard anyways.
I think in this case, like the standard shotgun build isn't gonna work as well. Maybe it can snap OD, but if OD picks up a bit more health, maybe it's gonna struggle. But it's not gonna be as effective against the Alchemist. It does sort of synergize because the thing is, Queen of Pain herself may actually pick up the E-Blade for him. So there is that as well. Like she may actually carry the E-Blade for him, so he can just basically launch on a target and blow him to bits.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Potential there.
And that would have, like you said, just allowed him to go for those bigger, like, sort of more late-game oriented items, get the Lifesteal, get a Manta, get whatever, get the Butterfly, get those items up and running. Because I think in this case, the shotgun is going to be fairly overrated just because you don't want to try and throw it on the Nyx because he can make that backfire horribly in your face. OD is probably the best target for it. Enigma's going to be hanging probably too far back, and Bane, I feel like it's an overinvestment for trying to blow him to bits when they've already got big AoE anyway.
So, real quick, looking at map vision, we see that the Radiant has one good ward up on their high ground towards their Ancients a little bit, but beyond that, they don't really have anything, and as a result, they're kind of hiding out in their base. Like, they have one person branching out at a time, but in general, they don't feel confident to, like, stack the Ancients for Acid Spray farm. They don't feel just really comfortable with doing much. They do have a Geometry Sight. They're covering up wards and getting rid of them as they see them, but in general, they're not really willing to actually head on out while that Aegis is still up and at them.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a fair call, because the thing is, like, if you get caught by yourself, or like even in an even engagement, there's always the potential for Nature's Prophet to turn up, or Morphling to replicate in somewhere nearby and just waveform in close, so they don't really want to split it too much, because it's much easier for Virtus Pro to bring in reinforcements. And also, the other thing is, of course, they wander too far away, they have exposed Raxes, so they've got to be really careful about that. And see, like, the thing is, like, if this lane pushes in, if the mid lane's not being pushed, this lane pushes in, makes the towers vulnerable, and suddenly they're sweeping in mid and blowing up your Rax before you can do anything about it. Especially the fact Furion can just show up out of nowhere. So I do like the fact that they're being fairly conservative in that sense, and yeah, there's no real reason for them to force a fight when that Aegis is up and running. They know it's going away soon, though, so once it's gone, we'll probably see them get more aggressive.
So
Morphling, 2,800 gold now.
Yeah.
We'll see where he goes next.
Enchantress is also going to pick up an Aghanim, so nice little bit of right-click damage on anybody that doesn't have a BKB. And just gives her the more potential to spread out. The more spread out you are against an Enigma, the more frustrating it is going to be for him to try to initiate. So the big thing is VS trying to get 16 and stay back. Well, it's also a little bit difficult because of the fact that she's the one carrying the pipe. She just finished that up a little bit ago, and I guess the game plan is Smile stays back, waits for the ulti, and then when he swaps in, he pops the pipe right then on top of everyone. But we're going to see this flank to gank. Alchemist might stun himself here, but fortunately underneath Shadowblade, so he doesn't have to worry about it. Either way, a huge flank. Man, this is going to be quite a fight.
Oh man, this gank has such potential, but it's been disrupted so heavily as we're going to see Nyx get... No, he drops his Carapace, dodges the damage, doesn't reflect it though, because Queen of Pain is BKB'd up. She will get the kill off though as they get the Sheep down on top of Bane. Bane gets dropped down, there's a Geometry Sight on the ground, and this has gone relatively even so far, but they haven't taken out the Morphling as the main issue. I don't think he's... I can actually see where he is at the moment. There we go, no, he's waving form through there, and we're going to have the Astral Imprisonment drop down. Now we've lost Enigma as well, and also we're going to lose poor old Alchemist. Alchemist now, Sans Eclipse gets dropped, but that's a wipe.
Wow.
And Virtus Pro, that could have been absolutely terrible for them, but two things happened. One, they didn't have vision. This should have had vision before that. This is a dangerous smoke ganking without vision, especially with the preemptive. Like, I really feel the preemptive cocktail was a very, very poor choice. He wasted the stun, and he stunned himself on top of that. And the other thing as well, this was unexpected. Having two heroes hiding in the forest there knocked off the smoke. Suddenly they're standing around going, holy crap, hang on, wait a minute, where the hell are they?
Yeah.
That was really, really good for them. Now, they didn't get a Rax out of it, but they forced buybacks, and they won a very easy fight.
Yeah. And another big aspect there was TMW, not only BK being at a perfect time right when he was getting initiated on, but also had a double damage rune bottled up. Of course, you can't have a double damage rune and then pop BKB, have to do the former before the latter, but she had it bottled, did it in the right order, and TMW's delivered like a dozen right clicks, maybe 24, like just went to town with the right clicks because they were ignoring her. And so TMW got that ultra kill, not just off a really good ultimate and some great magic nuke, but also a heck of a lot of physical damage they weren't ready for. So great size. Great interruption of the Fiend's Grip, and the solo Black Hole didn't cut it there. They turned it around very nicely, and Virtus.Pro take yet another very substantial lead.
The thing I question is, like, obviously you lost vision up here, but I really question about that smoke gang. I feel like they should have had vision over here first, or some kind of lane vision before they went for that. And it's often why we see stuff like Beastmaster being used very effective for smoke gangs. But anyway, mid lane, JRB, there goes the OD, already getting destroyed. Fiend's Grip comes down, not going to cut it though. He will also get picked off. Down goes Bane. They will get a return kill there on the bench. But BZZ is perfect. His fish food for him gets torn apart. Tron now just TPing away in time. But I don't think they have buybacks now.
Yeah.
Oh, they do. OD's got buyback. Who bought back then? Somebody bought back.
Alchemist already did, so...
Okay. So they don't have an Alch.
And Enigma actually did too. I didn't realize that. So a lot of build down the drain, and these racks should be dropping very, very quickly. I mean, they're lucky Tron got out of there. Honestly, Illidan could have adapted them and just didn't have the reflexes for it. But in this position, there's nothing they can do. The racks are gone. And Morphling just does so much freaking damage. Like, he's sitting... Oh, wow. Speaking of, I didn't even see that before he replicated on down. But, yeah, he does 100 and has 137 base agility, a right-click damage of 250-some, the Scotty slow. It's just so strong.
Definitely. That is pretty lethal. Granted, Alchemist is trying to pick a Radiance. I feel like the Radiance... not the best investment because they're not really getting the burn time through it. They're not really going to have like the amount of time for burn time unless there's something.
Abyssal,
I mean, unless he was good.
Yeah, there's no. I can't imagine it would be a Radiance at this stage in the game. There's just.
Well, the thing is, like normally if it's an Abyssal, they go for the Basher first.
Yeah. Which
just because I mean, even the Basher without the full Abyssal, the stun is great. I mean, why not? So the Radiance first is the Relic first. If it's not a Radiance, it's an odd way to buy it up anyway.
Yeah. Definitely agree with you there, but. He'll be picking... I can't imagine the Radiance. Yeah, it's a little weird not having the Basher at his disposal, but we'll close in on the Abyssal, and the question is, will he get the MKB before that will follow the Abyssal before Illidan picks up the Butterfly? But right now, Illidan's definitely winning the farm race. Just 3,200 gold right now, and he's catching up almost toe for toe with Alchemist Net Worth. Speaking of coming on in, they're charging up the concoction, looking for an opportunity, but don't have vision on anything. Now he gets sheeped up. The BKB's coming out. He's going to stun himself, and instead, here's the Black Hole coming out, but he gets swapped away from Vengeful Spirit. Nice play there. BZZ going toe-to-toe with TMW. He will bring him down, but fall immediately after. Illidan taking a lot of pressure here. He still has Aegis. He will have to use it here. JRB taking some hits, but no more impetuses to fly out. Means he still survives, and Vanscore barely TPs away. They both get on out of there, but not just yet. KSI, 2 right clicks. All he needs, there's a replicate as well. They get a double, and they clean it up nicely. Again, minimal buybacks available for Radiant, but they're not pushing in for the kill up top just yet.
I think they will be. There's no reason for them not to do it. They've got the 2 core heroes down. Alchemist is down. OG's down as well. Doesn't have the buybacks available either. Actually, no, I lie. He does. Somehow he actually has... I really thought level 17 he'd be more expensive at this point in time, but it's only a grand, so he does have just enough. But even then, with only OD, with Black Hole down, Morphling being so freaking huge, I don't see this happening. And there we go. GG is called him Virtus.Pro. It looks like, well, Fnatic fanboys like myself, it's done. Virtus.Pro have secured a spot in the finals, and the question, the final cup, the Super Cup, and the question comes down to which seeding are they going to take?
There we go.
These few final games to play out. So it's going to be Virtus.Pro, Mouse Sports, EG, and Alliance in the Super Cup on the weekend.
Going to be a really, really good one considering the teams. I mean, yeah, like you, I think Fnatic definitely deserved a spot, but they had some definite issues in the earlier cups, and in the grand total, Virtus.Pro accumulating this point value, they've shown that they're definitely worthy of that position. So it comes down to the seeding and 4th or 3rd place, depending on that for themselves and the other one, point of attention, Mouse Sports, I think. Yeah, they're looking at a 3rd or 4th. Obviously, whoever gets 4th place has to go up with Alliance first and limits their chances of moving forward with some actual cash prize. So we'll see. But for right now, Virtus.Pro looking very, very strong with 2 similarly designed, but either way perfectly executed games in a row. So really, really nicely done as they take down RoX.KIS in this best of 1-1-0, and yeah, from there they're going to be moving on forward to go up against Mouse Sports themselves. Oh wow, that's going to be interesting to see. I guess that whoever wins that is going to get third seeding, and whoever loses that is going to get fourth automatically. So that is going to be a fun match. But that'll be about an hour from now. The first match we're going to go on into is the losers bracket for the, or I guess it's not really called that. Third, fourth decider would be the best way to put it there, and that is the teams that have lost, RoX.KIS and Quantic will be going up against each other in the third, fourth decider. So we'll be seeing that in just a moment. And then the final matchup will be the winners, the Virtus Pro versus Mouse Sports, and that will be very, very fun to see. So thank you guys so much for tuning on in. Do you have any thoughts on how the game played out? The team fights, the carries, anything along those lines?
To be honest, not really. I think in the end it just came down to the fact that they couldn't get the initiation, the disable stuff they wanted. The BKBs came out at the right time. The BKBs came out at the right time there for Virtus Pro, and the fact is, Queen of Pain definitely did huge work. They got the bursts down that they needed. They just could not get on top of the Morphling. I really feel the constant surrendering of Roshan was a big issue. The fact that Morphling kept going in with double lives was a big deal. He kept basically stacking in on them. And in the end, that was just it. They just did not get this lockdown they wanted. If they managed to stop Queen of Pain, because the problem was they kept losing Nyx and Bane so early in the fights, the AoE from Queen of Pain, that I feel was a very big deal. If they managed to limit that by getting the jump on them, or even if it wasn't a huge black hole initiation, the point was that they were allowing Virtus Pro to dictate the terms of the fight, and every time Virtus Pro dictated the terms of the fight, they found the pickoffs they needed, they did the damage they had to, and they just managed to, in the end, overwhelm. We saw Alchemist and, generally speaking, Alchemist and Enigma were Alchemist and Obsidian Destroyer were two of the last heroes to go down. But it didn't matter because they get overwhelmed 3 or 5v2. There was just no way they could stand up against that. And without that lockdown, they just fell apart too quickly. Because, of course, OD didn't get a chance to get Ashivas up and around. He's just, without that extra armor, he's just very, very vulnerable to just pure right-clicking.
Yeah, there you go. I definitely agree with how that played out, the item progression and things along those lines. And, Illidan getting 3 Aegises, using 2 of them to great effect, it was very, very hard to deal with. And on top of that, Tron's Enigma, good pickup, but the end result, that last swap, he got the 2 core heroes he needed to, but they were both BKB'd up, and about 1 second later, that nether swap came on across from Vengeful Spirit. So there's just a limiting factor where why can't I hold all these heroes? You can't bundle them all up when they're in good positioning there. And Virtus Pro showing their strength here. They control Roche very effectively. They are very active across the map, and end result is they take this game away in just 38 minutes. Good game.